The NBA All-Rookie teams have been announced, and Jaden Ivey did not make the first-team All-Rookie team. I'm sure a lot of Pistons fans don't feel very happy about that. We're going to talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Ku Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast. Or you can leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It's another great way to support the podcast. We're just like 150 subscribers away from passing up Locked On Blazers and moving up in the Locked On NBA ranks when it comes to subscribers on YouTube. And about 50% of you guys who watch these videos are not subscribed. So please, again, if you guys want to support the podcast and help us become one of the best fan bases at Locked On Network, please hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. Later on in the podcast, we got some more rumors about Dillon Brooks potentially being a Detroit Piston next year. We'll talk about that. And also, I'll give you guys the head coaching update as of 10:15 p.m. on May 9th. We'll talk about that later. But obviously, first, we got the all-rookie teams that were announced. Oh, actually, my fault. Also, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Gametime. I almost forgot about that. But yeah, the NBA released they're all rookie teams, and one of the heated debates that I saw happen in the Pistons community for the last few weeks of the season, to be honest, was Jaden Ivey versus Bennedict Mathurin. Who was the better rookie this year? Who deserved to be in the all-rookie first team? And I believe I actually commented on it at the beginning of March. I believe we recorded a podcast talking about who deserved it at that point. But some things happened throughout the rest of the year, and you know, some things changed. So let me go ahead and just read you guys the all-rookie teams that what they were. So on the first team, you had Paolo Banchero, Walker Kessler, Keegan Murray, Jalen Williams, and Bennedict Mathurin, who beat out Jaden Ivey. And then you had, on the second team, Jalen Duren, Tari Eason, Jaden Ivey, Jabari Smith Jr., and Jeremy Shohan. So, very first thing, I want to congratulate Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren on making the rookie team. The Pistons have two guys on the rookie team. This is now 3 straight years they have had a guy make the all-rookie team. This is the second time in 3 years they've had 2 people make the all-rookie team in the same year. So again, you know, I know there's a lot of talk about the Pistons' young players and the drafting and all this, you know, development, all that stuff. But through the last 3 years, they have been well represented, not just at the All-Star game when it comes to the Rising Stars Challenge, etc. They also have been well represented on the all-rookie teams. So that's always cool to see when you're a team like Detroit, and that's really like your All-Star team, basically, because you're going to be full of rookies and young guys. So want to congratulate those two guys. Jalen Duren had a fantastic season. I'm very happy that he made this all-rookie team. He absolutely deserved it. Now, when it comes to Jaden Ivey versus Bennedict Mathurin, I personally, Pistons fans may try to kill me over this. I'm gonna try to be even kill with this. I don't think it's like a crazy snub. First of all, it's all rookie teams. We can't be getting this worked up over all rookie teams, guys. Like, come on, we can't. I understand we ain't got much else to talk about, but we can't be over here trying to fight about all rookie teams. Like, let's just relax a little bit. But since it's a topic, I don't think it's that crazy of a snub. I do think there's a very fair argument for a Jaden Ivey to be first team. Don't get me confused. Jaden Ivey is a much better playmaker than Bennedict Mathurin. He averaged 4 more assists per game to Bennedict Mathurin. Bennedict Mathurin also didn't have the type of workload that Jaden Ivey had to take on, especially for like the second half of the season with the Pistons. Jaden Ivey was asked to do a lot more than what Bennedict Mathurin was asked to do for his team in Indiana. That's not to sit here and say that Bennedict Mathurin was just out there not doing anything. Like, Bennedict Mathurin was a good rookie, and that's why I try to avoid doing at this. I know like what ends up happening with fan bases of teams like this is that we oftentimes end up going after other young guys to try to prop up our own. And I really want to try to avoid from ever doing that. Bennedict Mathurin was a really good rookie, but Jaden Ivey was asked to do more as a rookie for this team, for the Pistons. He's a much better playmaker at this point. And for Bennedict Mathurin being the quote-unquote better shooter coming into the draft, Jaden Ivey shot a better percentage from deep than Bennedict Mathurin did. Now, the argument for Bennedict Mathurin is that he was just a straight-up more efficient basketball player than Jaden Ivey this past season. He shot better on two-pointers. He shot better from the free throw line and got to the free throw line more than Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey had a 52.8 true shooting percentage. Bennedict Mathurin, which true shooting percentage is efficiency. Bennedict Mathurin had a 56.6 true shooting percentage, which I believe this season, I believe that's just around league average or just below league average. This year, league average true shooting percentage was 58.1%. Just across the entire league. Now, that's not the best way to do it. You probably would like to do it with someone similar usage rates, similar positions, etc. But it was just below league average for Bennedict Mathurin. Jaden Ivey was a little bit lower than that too. So Bennedict Mathurin was a more efficient basketball player. He played on a better team, which probably did a lot for him as well. Also, he started out the gates really strong. And as we saw last year with Cade Cunningham, if you start out the year strong and get those early votes and you get those early, eyes looking at you, it's hard to get those eyes to turn away from you, which I think that's a lot to do with why Bennedict Mathurin was over Jaden Ivey here. Again, I want to make this clear. Bennedict Mathurin is a really good rookie. He's going to be a really good player in the future. And I personally don't think it's like this wild snub. I don't think it's like voting Walker Kessler Rookie of the Year over Paolo Banchero. Like, that was crazy to me. I don't think this is just absurd. I get why someone would vote Bennedict Mathurin. I would have voted Jaden Ivey now because of how strong he finished this season, how much more of a workload he was asked to have, and how much better he is as a playmaker. But there is an argument for Bennedict Mathurin, so I'm not tripping too much on it. I'm just happy that the Pistons had guys represented on this, on these rookie teams. And even with Jaden Ivey being on the second team instead of the first team, I saw a bunch of national people talking about how Jaden Ivey is probably a top 3 rookie from this draft class. I've seen a bunch of people talk about would Jaden Ivey go second in this draft class? Would he go third in this draft class? Jaden Ivey's impressed a lot of people. A lot of people are super impressed with Jaden Ivey. I don't think him being on the second team is any kind of insult at all. I think a lot of people outside Detroit understand how good of a rookie he was and how good of a player he can be moving forward. So, again, like I said, I'm not tripping too much on it because I think he has gotten that respect across the league. Maybe it's not shown to the utmost ability with the rookie teams, but just overall respect and acknowledgement and having the eyes on you. I feel like Jaden Ivey has that across the league. I've seen a lot of national people talk about Jaden Ivey, so I'm not too worried about that. Jaden Ivey had a fantastic rookie year, much better than I thought he was going to have. And before the season, I thought Jaden Ivey was going to be, I believe my prediction before the year on the podcast was around 14 points a game, 41 shooting from the field, 32% from deep, and like 78% from the free throw line. He averaged more points than I expected. He was around the same efficiency. He shot a little bit better from deep than I thought. That was a big surprise to me. He was a much better outside shooter, but overall efficiency, he was around the exact spot I expected him to be, have those struggles that he had. But he definitely shocked a lot of people. Some of the things he improved are, really played well with, and some of the things he improved on throughout the year, like his three-point shooting. I did not expect him to be near 35% on about 5 attempts a game. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't expect him to be this good of a playmaker. Something he struggled with at the beginning of the year, but eventually got better and better and better and better as the year went on. So what I would do with this information, Pistons fans, is this. Instead of trying to be mad that he was on the second team or, argue about is he better than this guy, there's no way this guy's better than Jaden Ivey. Just be happy talk about how good Jaden Ivey was this year. Talk about what it was that he was great at this year. Talk about how much he improved throughout the year. Talk about why he's such a bright spot moving forward. Talk about why he's going to be one of the best players from this draft class. Screw the rookie teams. If you think he should have been on first team, whatever. Okay, maybe he should have been. But we know how good he is. We see how good he can be moving forward. And I personally have seen a lot of people say the same things outside of Detroit. So I think Jaden Ivey gets a lot of respect, and I'm not going to freak out too much about this all-rookie team. I think he gets plenty of respect, and we all know how good he's going to be. So that's my thoughts on it, man. I'm not freaking out too much about it, though. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on that, though, are in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. Coming up, rumors say that the Pistons will be interested in Dillon Brooks. Is this a good idea? We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, I've got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy all of the tickets for your favorite sports, music, comedy, and theater shows near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have. Gametime is the place for the last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly where to expect you'll be sitting when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to go digging through your email like I have to do sometimes with these other places. No, with Gametime, you can just get it sent directly to your phone. You don't have to worry about digging through the 500 different emails that you have, because I know you guys also don't go through all your emails like me. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Gametime. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Dillon Brooks. He's a very controversial. There's a very controversial. He is, I should say, a very controversial player. Mark Stein reported the other day, NBA insider Mark Stein said the Detroit Pistons are believed to be one of the 2 teams that will show interest in Dillon Brooks this summer. Now, I think there'll probably be more than 2 teams that show interest in him, but he said that's one of the 2 teams he's hearing is the Detroit Pistons. And we talked about Dillon Brooks, I believe, last Monday, I think it was. And I basically came on here and said, no, don't want him, keep him away. Do I still feel that way right now? After getting these reports that the Pistons will be interested in him, it sounds like. And to be honest, I think as of right now, it's a good chance that the Pistons will go after him. Do I think that's a good move? Do I still think it's a bad move to do so? I still think it would be a bad move. I understand why. I understand why Troy Weaver would be interested. I understand why I see some Pistons fans that are interested. I personally still don't think it would be a good fit, and here's why. I'll talk about why I don't think it's a good fit, but then I'll move on and also talk about why it could be a good fit and why the Pistons are interested. So first, the reason why I don't think it would be a good fit, it's just as simple as this. Before I say how many shot attempts he's averaged over the last 4 years, I want you guys to go in the comment section down low, or I want you guys to go tweet at me right now at Kukuhill. I want you guys to tell me how many shots you guys think he has averaged over the last 4 years with the Memphis Grizzlies, a contending team, a Western Conference contender, title contender. That's the team he's averaging these shots. How many shots do you guys think he's averaging a game? He's averaging close to 15 shots a game, 14.8 field goal attempts a game over the last 4 years. This past year was way down for him at 13.6 shot attempts. The previous season, he was at 16.4 shot attempts a game. The dude is a shot chucker. He's going to get shots up. You want to know how crazy, how many shots he gets up? Last season, not this past season, but the season before it, 21-22, he got 16.4 shots a game on a Western Conference contender. That was more shots per game than Cade Cunningham took for the Pistons his rookie season per game. He's going to get shots up. He's going to shoot the ball. Do you want him taking those kind of shots? No. Do you want Dillon Brooks to be taking that many shots for your team? No. Does he have the skills, the talent, the shooting ability, the creation ability, the finishing ability to be taking that many shots a game and it be warranted? No. And the Pistons just traded one of their young players because they couldn't get him to buy into taking less shots. The article from The Athletic that came out about Saddiq Bey once they traded him, it literally went in at Saddiq because they talked about how he didn't play the right brand of basketball. He wanted to do too much with the ball in his hands, didn't play the right way, didn't make the right passes, was shooting too much. So instead of somehow getting him to buy into a small role, they just straight up traded him And now you're going to go get a guy who is worse than Sadiq at that, who is worse at shot chucking, who is worse at trying to get his own shot when he shouldn't be. That's why I'm out on Dillon Brooks. I don't think that's a good fit. I think that's a recipe for disaster offensively. The Pistons don't need a guy to take up that type of usage. I'm not saying he should be averaging like 4 shots a game. But my God, 16? No. 15 shots a game? No, the Pistons don't need that. They don't need someone who can take up that type of usage who doesn't warrant it. They got guys in Jaden Ivey. They got guys in Cade Cunningham. They're going to have a guy at the top of this draft that probably takes up a lot of the usage. They don't need someone else who isn't warranting the usage. Again, I'm going to make it clear, who isn't warranting the usage, taking up that type of usage on your team. They don't need that. So that's why I'm out on Dillon Brooks. However, my God, if you go look at Dillon Brooks' usage rate, now this season, he was at 21% usage rate. He scaled it back a lot this year. And even then, it's a lot. But he scaled it back a lot. If you go back to the last season, 21-22, he had a 28.8 usage rate. That's more than Cade did with the Pistons, man. Over the last 4 years, what's his average usage rate over the last 4 years? 25% usage rate. Like, my God, man. He soaks up a lot, and that's on a contending team. I don't believe that he's going to then leave a contending team, come to a team that's rebuilding, and accept a lesser role. That doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to take a lesser role, I'd have to believe it would be with a team that's trying to win something, not a team that's losing and telling him also to take less possessions. Also, if you combine that with the fact that after the season, he came out and said he felt like he was just a 3-and-D guy. He felt like he has more to his game. He felt like he can show more to his game. He should be doing more on the offensive end of the floor. Newsflash, buddy. How are you a 3-and-D guy? You took 6 attempts from deep this season, and your overall shot attempts 13.6. So less than half of your shot attempts were threes. If you go back to the previous season, less than a third of your attempts were threes. You took 4 threes a game in 21-22. You took 16.4 shots. That doesn't seem like 3-and-D to me. You're getting up 10 plus shots that aren't threes. So like all of that, if you put all of that together, that tells me that's a player you're not going to get to buy in offensively to just be a 3-and-D guy. That tells me that's going to be a guy you can't convince to not shoot 14, 15 shots a game. That sounds like a guy who wants to shoot 14, 15 shots a game. That sounds like a guy who wants to be more. Even more than the non-3-and-D guy he was before. Because he wasn't one before. He wants to be even more than not the 3-and-D guy he was before. So all of that, that's why I'm out on Dillon Brooks. I don't think it's worth the baggage at that point. Plus all the off-court stuff, which I'm not talking about like crimes or anything. He's not a criminal, a bad person or anything. But like his personality, the way he is with the locker room and stuff like that, all that combined with the offensive stuff I just spoke about, I don't think his defense is worth the baggage. I don't think his defense is that good to where all the other stuff is worth it. Now, why would the Pistons be interested? Well, he was just voted a part all defensive second team this year. His defense is legit. Like, it's not... I know people have been, after what he said about LeBron, the playoffs, and the way the playoff series went, there's been a lot of the, how Russ said a few years ago, Pat Bev trick y'all. There's a lot of people that are saying Dillon Brooks tricks y'all. He doesn't trick you on defense. He actually is a very damn good defender. I'd probably say elite defender. He was just on an all-defensive team. He's an elite defender. He's a really good point-of-attack defender, very physical defensively. We'll get into you. He's a very, very good defender. And he probably, some Pistons fans probably like him because he rubs off the kind of bad boy Pistons kind of aura with the kind of trash talk, the physicality, the dirty play. I'm going to assume I've already seen some Pistons fans like him because of that. Me personally, and this is because I know my older listeners are going to be so mad at this. They're not going to like this. But this is just me. And it definitely is because I'm younger. I'm a younger Pistons fan. I'm 25. That felt disgusting to even say out loud. There's no way I'm 25 already. But I personally am sick of the Pistons and Detroit having this, this stereotype that we're dirty and we don't play basketball. We just play dirt. We just fight people. We just play dirty. We get physical and do stuff that isn't basketball. It's football. Like I don't like that stereotype. I don't know about you guys. I like to be able to say we beat you with basketball. We got talented basketball players. I don't like buying into that stereotype either, which I feel like Dillon Brooks would be doing if you go after Dillon, but you just buy into that stereotype. Like, I personally don't like that. I don't like that stereotype, and at a certain point, we can't just have guys who are fighting and getting physical and love them because that's the way we like the Pistons celebrated. At a certain point, we need talented basketball players. We need, really good basketball players. I don't care if they're as soft as tissue paper. I don't care if they're as soft as Charmin. If you can put the ball in the basket, have a good efficiency, average 20 plus a game, and you're a good basketball player, I don't care if you cry in the movies when you went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't care. I don't care. Now, I say that because I was in the war with my tear ducts watching that movie throughout the entire time. I didn't shed a tear, but I was in a war with my tear ducts. But my point is that I don't care how physical you are. I don't care if you're dirty. I don't care all that stuff. I don't care if that represents Detroit bad boys, all that stuff. If you can't play, I don't want you. And I'm not trying to say Dillon Brooks can't play. Don't get me wrong. He is a legit defender, and he's not as bad offensively as he was this past year. He definitely is a shot chucker. He's not that efficient, but he's not as bad as he was this past year offensively. He does have a little bit to his offensive game, a little bit. He doesn't know how to calm it down. He doesn't know how to reel it in, but he's not a scrub. I don't want to make it seem like that, but I think with that stuff I just mentioned, with the whole, dirty kind of player kind of thing, along with the offensive stuff that I mentioned at the beginning, plus his quotes after the season talking about he wants to be more than just a 3-and-D player. He can do more offensively. All of that, look, I know he's a great defender, and I know the Pistons desperately are lacking wing defense. I completely understand that. He would solve that quickly. Wing defense, he'd help it. But I think what he would do on the offensive end and the potential, I don't want to say he's a locker room cancer. That's unfair to him. But there are worries about him in the locker room, plus the offensive stuff. I don't think it would outweigh. I think his defense would not outweigh that stuff. So I still would not be interested in Dillon Brooks. I still don't feel like the Pistons should go after him. Saying that, I would completely understand why they went after him. I just think it would be the wrong move. But I definitely would understand it. And I think there would be a lot of Pistons fans that would just love it too. I think a lot of Pistons fans probably would love it. So it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think though. Do you guys agree with me? Would you guys want the Pistons to stay away from Dillon Brooks? Or are you guys wanting the Pistons to go after Dillon Brooks? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at @KukaHill. When we come back, head coaching update. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our lovely sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. We have some head coaching updates, and we did touch on it just a little bit with Howard Beck on the last podcast. And I want to say this, if you guys haven't listened to that last podcast, definitely go listen to it. Howard was a great guest, former writer at Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, the New York Times. If you've been an NBA fan for the last 10 years, you probably know who Howard Beck was. I grew up reading a ton of his articles on Bleacher Report. If you guys have been NBA fans for the last decade plus, you should know who Howard Beck is. He's a really, really good get to have on the podcast for Locked On Network. And he was, I really loved recording with him. It was a very fun episode. I had a lot of fun with it. And it had a lot of good information. He provided a lot of good insight. So definitely go check out that episode. But my point is, at some point during that podcast, we did touch on the updated news with the head coaching search. And that is that the Pistons have basically dwindled it down, which we already knew last week. I don't know why we were told this. Oh, well, they might be interviewing some other people, that we just don't know about. They won't leak their names, but they figuratively could begin interviewed over Zoom. Like, no, we knew it was just these three guys. The Pistons are waiting to see what guys get fired from the playoffs. I think that also was BS. Maybe Monty Williams, they think maybe could become available, and they'd want Monty. I don't know, but like that, even that felt like it was a bunch of BS too. So I feel like we've always known it's these three guys, and those three guys are Kevin Ollie, Jaren Collins, and Charles Lee. Kevin Ollie is the head of coach, or was the head of coaching and development at the OTE League. Jaren Collins, assistant coach for years with the Golden State Warriors. He was an assistant coach with the New Orleans Pelicans this past season. And then you got Charles Lee, who is the assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks for the last, I believe, 6-7 years under Mike Budenholzer. So those are the Pistons' three finalists, and they're all being flown out to meet with Pistons owner Tom Gores in LA. Now, if you want to be honest, I think it's a little funny. I think it's funny that they're flying out to LA to meet him, and he's not just flying out to LA or Detroit to meet them in Detroit. However, the Pistons want to handle their business. It's not that big of a deal, but I just found it funny when I saw the report. I'm like, you'd think it would be the other way. Like they'd come out, he'd be in Detroit meeting with them, not them having to be ushered out to LA. Which I'd love to see like the type of service they're getting for that. Like, are they being flown in like private jets and just like gifted the most amazing experience ever flying out to LA just to the Pistons? I just like to know that it's all kind of funny to me. I'm not gonna lie, but I believe Shams said that the interview should be over by the end of this week, which is crazy because by the end of this week, we got one more week until the lottery. So as I'm recording this on the 9th, the lottery is the 16th. So it is very possible that like within the same 2-day, 3-day span, the Pistons get their head coach and the lottery happens and they figure out where they're picking. This could either be a really good week or a really bad week. Oh my goodness, dude. The extremes in which this week could go. It's either going to be extremely great or just it's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible. Like this week may make or break me, man. It may make or break me. It's oh my goodness. So we'll see what happens this week. This is going to be a very entertaining week for Pistons fans. I want to know who you guys want as head coach. Who do you guys want out of these 3 guys to be the head coach? I've already shared with you guys my thoughts on all 3 of these guys. I think I've went in a lot on Kevin Ollie as a head coach candidate. I kind of touched on it a little bit with Howard Beck, but I don't want to keep going with Kevin Ollie trying to go in on him because if he does become the Pistons head coach, you'll see complete positivity on this podcast because I'll be begging that he's a great coach because we're all rooting for this team to be good. So you guys won't see any negativity. So I'm going to try to back off of that a little bit. I think I'd probably want Jaren Collins at this point, but I would be really okay. I'd be happy with Jaren Collins or Charles Lee as the Pistons' next head coach. I'd be fine with either of those guys. So I'd like to hear from you guys. Who you guys want as the Pistons' next head coach? And when do you guys think... Actually, you know what? Here's a challenge right here. For those of you guys who've listened this long. I'm going to have to find out a cool reward kind of thing that we do. If you guys got suggestions, let me know. But, little game for you guys. I want you guys to give me the date that you guys think the head coaching announcement happens, and then who will be the head coach that gets announced on that day. If you guess the day and the coaching hire correctly, both of them correctly, in the comment section, or if you tweet at me with that right selection, I'll shout you guys out on the podcast. And I'm gonna try to find something to give you like a little reward kind of thing. I'll figure something out. But either way, do that. I'm interested to see. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Enjoy these playoff games. These playoffs have been interesting to say the least, man. This is a lot of parity going on in the NBA right now. It's a lot of fun to watch. So enjoy these playoffs. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Peace out.